A monkey in a General Sports uniform.
3 white soldiers, 1 black woman. A military barbecue packed with families, and every single one
Now
of
I've
them
seen everything.
hurting. She stood there in full dress greens, a star on each shoulder, ribbons earned in Iraq and Afghanistan pinned across her chest.
Publicly, take that fake uniform off, dog. You're embarrassing yourself.
He flicked the star off her shoulder with his finger. His buddy shoved a phone in her face, laughing. The third one just stood there, watching. Dozens of people saw it. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. She looked at all 3 of them, one by one, slow.
Are you finished?
They had no idea that the dog they just spat on could destroy everything they'd spent their whole careers building. Damn! But wait. This story starts way before the barbecue, in a quiet kitchen in Fayetteville. 6 hours earlier, the morning was quiet. Wanda Underwood stood in her kitchen at 5:45 a.m. The coffee maker hissed and dripped behind her. Steam curled up from the mug on the counter. Outside, the North Carolina sky was still gray. That soft kind of gray that comes right before the sun breaks through. She lived alone in a modest 3-bedroom house in Fayetteville. Nothing fancy. A small yard with a magnolia tree out front. A porch with 2 rocking chairs that she never sat in because she was never home long enough. The walls told her story better than she ever would. A framed photo of her at 22, West Point graduation, class of 1994. Eyes sharp, jaw set, the only black woman in her row. Next to it, a photo from Fallujah. Dust on her face, rifle across her chest, a convoy burning behind her. Then, Baghdad, Kabul, Fort Hood, the Pentagon, and at the center of them all, a framed Silver Star citation. The words on it read, "For gallantry in action against an enemy of the United States." 32 years, 5 combat deployments, 1 Purple Heart from the shrapnel that still ached in her left knee every winter. Wanda pressed her iron across the trousers of her Army service uniform. Slow, careful strokes. The crease had to be perfect. She learned that from her father, a retired sergeant major, who told her every morning before school, "You show up sharp, they got nothing to say about you." She held up the jacket, ran her fingers across the ribbons, touched the single star on the shoulder. Brigadier General. The star was small, no bigger than a quarter, but it carried the weight of 3 decades. Her phone buzzed, a video call from her daughter, Aisha. "Morning, Mama. You ironing already?" Wanda smiled. "You know I am." "Grandma!" A tiny voice squealed in the background. 3-year-old Nyla pressed her face against the screen, all cheeks and giggles. "There's my baby," Wanda said. She laughed, the kind of warm, full laugh that only grandchildren can pull out of a person. They talked for 10 minutes. Nyla showed her a drawing of a butterfly. Aisha reminded her to eat something before the event. Wanda said she would. She probably wouldn't. She hung up, finished her coffee, and loaded a foil-covered pan of banana pudding into the back seat of her gray sedan. Homemade. Her mother's recipe. She brought it to every base event. Had for 20 years. She drove to Fort Liberty, one of the largest military installations in the world, home of the 82nd Airborne Division, home of U.S. Army Special Operations Command, home to over 50,000 soldiers and their families. The Family Appreciation Barbecue was an annual tradition. Grills lined up across the main pavilion, smoke rising into the Carolina pines. The smell of charcoal, hickory, and cheap hot dogs filled the air. Country music played from a set of speakers someone had zip-tied to a pole. Soldiers were told to come in casual clothes, shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops, but senior leaders were expected in uniform. Wanda had just transferred from the Pentagon 2 weeks ago. Most soldiers on base had never seen her face. She parked in the regular lot, not the VIP section. She never used it. She grabbed the pudding pan, shut the door with her hip, and walked toward the pavilion like any other person heading to a Saturday cookout. Nobody saluted. Nobody noticed. That was fine with her. Across the pavilion, 3 soldiers leaned against a fence near the grills. Sergeant First Class Kyle Brennan was the loudest. He always was. 30 years old, 6'2", built like a refrigerator. He was telling a story about his deployment to Syria. Except, the way he told it, you'd think he single-handedly won the war. Corporal Derek Swanson stood next to him, phone in hand. Always recording. Always looking for content. He laughed at everything Brennan said like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Specialist Tyler Combs was the quiet one. 22. New to the unit. He followed Brennan around because that was easier than standing alone. Other soldiers nearby exchanged glances when Brennan talked. A few rolled their eyes, but nobody said anything. That was the culture. You didn't challenge Brennan. Not because he was respected, because he was loud, and loud people are exhausting to fight. Then Wanda walked past them. Brennan saw her first. She was walking toward the main table, pudding pan balanced in both hands. The afternoon sun hit the star on her shoulder, and it flashed, just for a second, like a tiny mirror catching light. Brennan squinted, then he elbowed Swanson. "Yo, you seeing this?" Swanson looked up from his phone. His eyes followed Brennan's gaze across the pavilion to the black woman in full dress greens, walking calmly through the crowd. "No way," Swanson whispered. Brennan tilted his head. A grin spread across his face, the kind of grin that comes right before something ugly. "A monkey in a general's uniform," he said. "Now I've seen everything." He pushed off the fence and started walking toward her. Swanson followed, phone already up and recording. Combs hesitated for a second, looked around, then jogged to catch up. Brennan stepped directly into Wanda's path. She stopped. The pudding pan pressed against her stomach. The smell of vanilla and banana wafted up between them. He looked her up and down. Slow. Head to toe and back again. The way you look at something you've already decided doesn't belong. "Take that fake uniform off, dog," he said. "You're embarrassing yourself." His voice was loud enough that the family at the nearest picnic table turned around. A woman pulled her toddler closer. A man with a beer in his hand froze mid-sip. Wanda didn't move. Her eyes locked onto Brennan's face. She studied him the way you'd study a weather pattern, calmly calculating which direction the storm was heading. "Excuse me, Sergeant," she said. Her voice was level, not soft, not loud, just steady. The voice of someone who had given orders under mortar fire and never once raised it. Brennan laughed, short, sharp, like a bark. "Oh, she even knows the ranks. That's cute." He looked back at Swanson. "She's committed to the costume, I'll give her that." Swanson zoomed in with his camera. "This is gold, bro. TikTok's gonna eat this up." Brennan turned back to Wanda. He leaned in closer. The smell of cheap cologne and barbecue smoke hit her face. She didn't step back, didn't blink. "Where'd you get this?"